You wake up in the morning, and before you even brush your teeth, you're wondering, did they text me back? You're thinking about what mood they might be in, whether they're upset, or if you need to do something to fix things before they even go wrong. Welcome back to Psyche Unveiled. If that feels familiar, this video might hit closer to home than you expect, because today we're talking about emotional codependency, what it is, how to spot the signs of codependency, and most importantly, how to break the cycle so you can finally feel free and at peace in your relationships. Stick around. You might realize patterns in yourself you never noticed before. Let's get one thing clear. Emotional codependency is not just caring too much. It's when your self-worth and emotional stability become tied to someone else's feelings, actions, or approval. It's like your emotional well-being is a small boat, and instead of having your own anchor, you've tied your rope to someone else's ship. If they sink, you sink. If they sail away, you drift aimlessly. Codependent relationships can happen anywhere. Romantic partnerships, friendships, even family dynamics. Sometimes they're obvious, but often they hide under the surface, disguised as being helpful, loyal, or selfless. And while caring for others is beautiful, emotionally codependent behavior is about losing yourself in the process. Now here's where it gets real. You might be in a codependent relationship if you notice these emotional codependency signs. 1. You base your mood on theirs. If they're happy, you're happy. If they're upset, your whole day collapses. 2. You avoid conflict at all costs. Even when you're hurt, you say nothing, because their comfort matters more than your truth. 3. You feel guilty for saying no. Boundaries feel like betrayal. 4. You feel responsible for their emotions. You believe it's your job to keep them from being upset, angry, or sad, even when it's not. 5. You lose your own identity. Your hobbies, friendships, and personal goals fade because you're too focused on their needs. 6. You seek constant reassurance. You need to know they still like you, love you, or approve of you. It's worth noting, these behaviors often come from good intentions. You may have learned them from childhood experiences, especially if you grew up in a home where your emotional needs were secondary to keeping the peace. When we talk about emotional codependency, it's easy to just label it as clinginess or needing too much from someone. But in reality, it's much deeper than that. Codependency is often rooted in years, sometimes decades, of patterns, beliefs, and experiences that shaped how you view yourself in relationships. Let's break down some of the most common root causes. 1. Childhood emotional neglect. Many people who struggle with codependency didn't grow up in a household where their emotions were fully seen, heard, or validated. Maybe you were told to stop crying when you were upset. Maybe your feelings were ignored because your parents were too busy, stressed, or dealing with their own problems. Or maybe you were expected to take care of their emotions, to be the good kid who never caused trouble. When a child learns that their worth is tied to keeping others happy, they grow into adults who fear upsetting people, even at the cost of their own needs. 2. Growing up around unhealthy relationship models. Our early understanding of love is shaped by what we see. If your parents had a volatile relationship, you might think chaos is normal love. If you saw one parent sacrifice everything for the other, you might believe love means self-abandonment. Even if it's subconscious, you can end up repeating these patterns, seeking out relationships where you give too much, or stay in unhealthy dynamics because they feel familiar. 3. Low self-worth and identity loss. When you don't feel good enough on your own, relationships become your main source of validation. You feel secure only when someone approves of you. You might lose your own hobbies, opinions, and boundaries because you're so focused on keeping the other person close. In other words, your sense of self becomes tied to how well you serve or please others. 4. Fear of abandonment. This is one of the strongest driving forces behind emotional codependency. You might go to great lengths to avoid being alone. You might stay in relationships that are draining or even toxic because the thought of separation feels unbearable. This fear often comes from early life experiences, such as divorce, loss of a caregiver, or emotional inconsistency from loved ones. 5. Trauma and unresolved emotional pain. Past trauma, whether from childhood or adult relationships, can wire the brain to constantly seek safety in others, even at your own expense. For example, if you've been betrayed, you might cling harder to new relationships to avoid feeling that pain again. Or if you've experienced abandonment, you might believe that the only way to keep people is to meet all their needs, even when it hurts you. 6. Cultural and societal conditioning. In some cultures or family systems, sacrificing yourself for others is seen as a virtue. While kindness and generosity are beautiful qualities, they can become harmful when they erase your own needs. You might have been praised for always putting others first without realizing it was costing you your emotional health. Emotional codependency doesn't happen overnight. It's usually the result of deeply ingrained patterns that started early in life. The good news? Once you identify your specific root causes, you can start working toward healthier, more balanced relationships. So what's the problem? After all, isn't putting others first a good thing? Well, yes and no. The cost of emotional codependency is high. You lose your sense of self. You stop growing as an individual. You feel constant stress and burnout. Your relationships become unbalanced. One person gives, the other takes. Worse yet, codependency can attract unhealthy dynamics. People who enjoy control or who avoid responsibility often gravitate towards someone who will carry the emotional load for them. All right, so now we've uncovered the signs and dug into the root causes of emotional codependency. Here's the important part. You're not stuck this way forever. Breaking free from codependent patterns is absolutely possible, but it's not about suddenly becoming cold, distant, or refusing to care for people. It's about learning how to love without losing yourself in the process. Let's walk through it step by step. 1. Build self-awareness first. The first step to change is noticing your patterns. Start paying attention to when you feel the urge to fix someone's mood, rescue them from a bad day, or sacrifice your own needs. Ask yourself, am I doing this out of love, or because I'm afraid they'll leave, or be upset with me? Think of it like catching yourself mid-scroll at 2 a.m. on TikTok. You can't change what you don't notice. 2. Strengthen your self-worth. This is huge. A lot of codependency fades when you like yourself enough to set boundaries. Make a list of things you appreciate about yourself outside of relationships. Try hobbies you enjoy purely for you, not because they make someone else happy. Surround yourself with people who value you, not just what you do for them. 3. Practice healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They're doors with locks, and you get to choose who comes in and when. Learn to say no without over-explaining. Notice when you agree to something just to avoid tension. Remember, if someone gets angry because you have boundaries, that's a red flag, not proof that your boundaries are wrong. 4. Separate your emotions from theirs. One of the hallmarks of emotional codependency is absorbing other people's feelings like a sponge. If your partner's upset, you feel upset. If your friend's stressed, you carry it all day. Practice telling yourself, their feelings are theirs to manage. My job is to support, not to fix. This mental shift alone can lower anxiety and help you feel less responsible for everyone else's happiness. 5. Embrace alone time. This one scares a lot of people with codependent tendencies, but it's powerful. Spend intentional time by yourself doing things you enjoy. Notice that your worth doesn't decrease when no one's around to validate it. At first, it might feel weird. You might even think, am I just sitting here existing? Yes, you are. And that's beautiful. 6. Challenge the fear of abandonment. Every time you feel the panic rising, the what if they leave me thoughts, ask yourself, if they left, would I still exist? Spoiler, yes. Have I survived loss before? Probably yes. Do I want a relationship that depends on me ignoring my own needs? Hopefully no. Fear loses its power when you call it out. 7. Seek support in therapy. You can absolutely work on codependency alone, but having a therapist, especially one familiar with attachment styles and emotional boundaries, can speed up progress. Support groups or even online communities for self-growth can also help you see you're not the only one working through this. 8. Redefine love. Codependency thrives when love equals sacrifice. Instead, start redefining love as two whole people choosing to walk together, not one person carrying the other. A healthy relationship allows you to care for each other while still having your own lives, opinions, and needs. Ending codependency isn't about loving less. It's about loving better. It's about showing up for people without disappearing into them. And here's the truth. The more you value yourself, the more the right people will value you too. It is also important to learn the difference between codependency versus interdependence. Codependency: I can't be okay unless you're okay. Interdependence: I care about you, but I can still be okay if you're not. And that's the real freedom. You can love deeply without losing yourself. So if you've been wondering, am I emotionally codependent? Take this as your sign. You can break the cycle. You can build healthy relationship boundaries. And you can reclaim your emotional independence without guilt. If this resonated with you, you're not alone. Many people are quietly struggling with codependency right now. Drop a comment if you've experienced this. Share this video with someone who might need it. Like and subscribe for more simple, clear psychological insights. Your worth is not measured by how much you fix, give, or please others. Your worth is you. We'll see you in the next video.